welcome to my January reading review. Today I'm going to talk to you about the books I read in January. This video was filmed over the course of a few days, so don't be startled by all the outfit changes. I wanted to review books as I was reading them so that they'd be lovely and fresh in my brain, so I could give you my review, my fresh thoughts, but then also come back and look at them and maybe amend my feelings depending on what happened throughout the month. So there's a bit of a mix in here. I also tracked my reading stats using Storygraph. So let's look at the stats first. I read 3 books in January. Here is a look at the genre spreads throughout the month. Mostly YA romance. Basically, on average, I rated books a 4.83 out of 5. So this was like an oddly good month. Like, I don't think it'll be like that often. And that is a really high average rating. I will note that I'm quite a nice rater, I suppose, or reviewer. Because, I don't know, I always feel kind of awkward giving a book less than, say, 3 stars. My system might be kind of flawed, but to give you some context, if I give something 1 and 2, like, that book personally wronged me. It put my family in danger. Like, that is serious no. A 3 star is like,
it was okay, it was alright.
I read it, I don't love it, but I feel like it'd be unfair to give it less than 3. A 4 is like, good, that was a good book, but it doesn't live up to my other 5 stars. And then 5 star is probably what I give most books that I really enjoy. So a 5-star read is just the books I really enjoy or like mean a lot to me. Something like that is basically what 5 stars means. So 4.83 is a really high average rating. Here's a look at how many pages I was reading throughout the month. As you can see, it does kind of fluctuate. Like, there'd be a big peak and then nothing, peak, nothing, peak, nothing. And so that really shows what kind of reader I am. I am a bit inconsistent. When I read a load. When I'm not reading, I don't touch a book. So maybe that's something to kind of work on. Maybe being more consistent, maybe reading, say, 50 pages a day or 20 pages a day even. I don't know which will work better. So now that we've seen my reading stats, let's get into the actual reviews. The first book I read in January was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. So I gave this a 4.5 out of 5. Here's the concept, here's the idea. This book is YA romance fantasy. Romantasy, if you will. Centers around 2 characters, Payden and Kai. They're kind of the 2 main characters, and it is dual point of view, so we see from both point of views. The world, basically this is set in a world where there was this giant plague. This plague wiped out a whole lot of people, but it also gave powers to some people, ? And only some people got powers and some people didn't. And then the people who got powers are called the elites, and then the people who didn't, the powerless people, are called the ordinaries. So, you know, the elites and the ordinaries. The elites believe that the ordinaries will cause the elites' power to like dampen or lose strength. So the king banished all of the ordinaries. And basically on pain of death, they were given like 48 hours, get the hell out of this kingdom. Ilya, I-L-Y-A, Ilya. If you're not out by then, goodbye, honey. Most people did. Most of the ordinaries left. The ones that were left in Ilya, the kingdom, went into hiding and, you know, scattered about. Enter our protagonist, Payden. She is an ordinary, kind of in disguise, hiding as an elite. She learned to kind of fake it until she makes it by pretending she is a psychic elite. So basically her power is deduction. And she's been doing this for like her whole life. Her father trained her up basically in the power of deduction. So Payton has survived this long. Okay, so that's Payton. Meanwhile, Kai is like the very opposite. He is this super, super powerful elite who is also the prince of this world, this kingdom. However, he isn't like prince number one. Prince number one is his older brother who is going to be king. Whereas now, since he's the spare instead of the heir, his job is to kind of be the blade of the king, like think assassin vibe for the king. That's exactly what he does. He hunts ordinaries. See where this is going? The inciting incident, if you will, is Kai gets attacked by the special type of elite, this whole thing, whatever, and Payton manages to save his life. Well, she gets rewarded by being chosen to compete in what's called the Purging Trials. That's kind of where, before I read it, I kind of thought, oh, Hunger Games vibes. That's why. There are trials. So the Purging Trials, right? They are exactly how they sound. They're brutally competitive, arduous, and sometimes literally deadly. Now she's in these trials with no powers, surrounded by people with powers, and Kai is also competing. He was also chosen. And that's basically the story. There is a bit of romance, obviously. I did say it was a romantasy. Kind of, there was the beginnings of a love triangle developing, so if you don't like that, there you go. A good bit of pining. And what everyone says about this book is the banter is brilliant. Like, that's the thing, the banter is like the highlight. I can totally see why people say that. Banter is really good. I really enjoyed Kai's character. He is the classic flirty, somewhat sarcastic, handsome main guy, you know, the usual. He also had dimples and I liked that detail. His character is gonna go through a bit of a shift between the first and second book because of what goes on in this one, and I'm excited to see this other side of him, the side that shines a little less in this book. If you know, you know. I am intrigued to see how the next book goes, and I think that book is coming out this year, so I will definitely read it, like 100%. I'm getting that book. This is the kind of book I would recommend to people who had that 2014 fantasy boom, who really enjoyed that fantasy boom, like Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, all of those. The people who enjoyed that, I feel, would enjoy this. The book is also quite accessible, quite easy to read. Like, it literally flew by, and I think it's over 500 pages. It is good. And now let me pull out some quotes. I have them here. Remind me to make you smile like that again when you aren't dying, and I have all the time in the world to memorize it. She is the embodiment of a bad decision, the twin of danger and desire, the fine line between deadly and divine, and I can feel myself drowning. So if that's your thing, highly recommend. So that was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. The next book I read in January was Girlhood by Melissa Febos. 5 stars. Oh my goodness. So this book is a collection of essays all centered around womanhood. In these essays, Febos dives into that transition from girlhood to womanhood and all of the associated difficulties that come with female adolescence. This book is highly reflective, with Febos using her own life and experiences as the backbone of the narrative of each essay. As always, if you want to read this, I would recommend looking up content warnings or trigger warnings, as the content can be quite upsetting. So I've kind of left a scroll here, so pause if you want to read them. They are categorized by how relevant they are to these essays. These essays are really beautifully written, with the author's own experiences being interwoven with tales from like Greek mythology. So that appealed to me specifically, as I love Greek mythology. There was this one story in particular, Thesmophoria, that really got me. It made me cry. I cried like a baby. That essay explores the relationship between young women and their mothers, using the story of Demeter and Persephone as the backdrop to the story. There was just something so beautiful about reflecting on the relationships between a teenage girl and her mother. This essay kind of felt to me like that scene from the Barbie movie, the mother-daughter like monologue. So that was very precious to me. Also, that is incredibly high praise coming from me. I do believe that most women should read this book, or at least give it a look over. There is just something so cathartic about reading about shared experiences and shared suffering, I suppose. Or even just someone else acknowledging something you know or something you've felt, and acknowledging how difficult growing up can truly be. I also think that it kind of made me reflect on my own life as a woman and recognize the beauty in girlhood, even along with these struggles. So I picked out some quotes. I have them marked here to try convince you to read the book. First one I have is, in Samuel Johnson's 1755 dictionary, the precursor to the Oxford English, a slut is simply a dirty woman, without any sexual connotation. In the 19th century, a slut also becomes a female dog and a rag dipped in lard to light in place of a candle. Though in the 20th century, its meaning solidifies as an immoral woman, a woman with the morals of a man. It isn't until the 1960s that a slut finally becomes a sexually promiscuous woman, a woman who enjoys sex in a degree considered shamefully excessive. It is a brilliant linguistic trajectory. Make the bad housekeeper a woman of poor morals. Make her maid service to men a moral duty, and every other act becomes a potentially immoral one. Make her a bitch, a dog, a pig, any kind of subservient or inferior beast. Create one word for them all. Make sex a moral duty too, but pleasure in it a crime. This way you can punish her for anything. You can make her humanity monstrous. Now you can do anything you want to her. The next quote is, I forgive myself for ingesting shame I did not choose, but was fed anyway. I may not yet be unashamed, but I am wholly unapologetic. Next. To be human meant that, unlike in most other species, females were the cultivators of meticulous plumage. We competed to be the weakest and smallest and most infantile. We seemed to spend all of our resources withering ourselves to be attractive to males. The goal was to be soft and tidy and delicate as possible. It made no sense at all. I was not in the habit of withering myself. I was not tidy or delicate. And one more quote for you. My poor body, my precious body, how would I let her be treated this way? My body was me. To hate my own body was to suffer from an autoimmune disease of the mind. So on a final note, this book was a fantastic way to kick off my 2024 non-fiction reading journey, I suppose. I definitely would consider reading more by this author. I might have to have a look and see what else she's written. So you might see me read more Melissa Febos in the future. Did that make you want to read this? I hope so. The final book I read in January was Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This was another 5 stars for me. Basically, this is a YA romance all about chess. If you're familiar with Ali Hazelwood, you'll know that she loves to write a good STEM romance. Check and Mate is her first YA grade. Usually the other books are more adult romance, so this was her first crack at more YA. I will say that this feels like higher aged YA, just purely because there's a lot of discussions about sex, but the actual sex scenes are fade to black. so it is still YA. This is probably one of my favorites of Ali Hazelwood's books. Here's the idea. Mallory is our main character, and when Mallory was a kid, she was kind of like this chess whiz. She suddenly stopped playing chess at age 14 for a reason that is unknown to us at the start of the book, and she completely abandoned chess. Doesn't touch it. That's all we really know about the chess front. She is now 18 and just finished school. She is out of school and she's kind of responsible for looking after her family. Her mum has a chronic illness, and so Mallory has kind of stepped into the looking after the family role. She has her 2 younger sisters, so she's basically trying to make ends meet for her family. Then what kicks everything off is her best friend gets her to take part in this charity chess match. Somehow, by beautiful novel convenience, she gets paired up with the current world #1 champion guy at chess, and she ends up beating him. That's what kicks everything into motion, and she ends up basically becoming a chess player for the money. And this world champion that she beats, his name is Nolan, and he is a 20-year-old handsome genius guy that the second he is beaten, he gets reinvigorated for chess. He was like on the edge of being like, not really my thing anymore. But after playing Mallory, he becomes kind of obsessed with that. Like, she bet him, he wants to play her again. He really like appreciates her skill and really sees her skill when she doesn't always see it herself. One thing I really did like about the book is how obsessed Nolan is with Mallory. It is very clear from the get-go how much he cares about her. The whole time Mallory's like, oh, I'm the main character, everyone hates me. Like, it's just not true. It is kind of supposed to be rivals to lovers, but the whole time he's like, love me, please? Love me? Yes? I just thought it was really sweet. Nolan is a good book boyfriend. I stayed up until 2 a.m. to finish this book. I took a screenshot on my phone to prove what time I finished the book at. I was just so engrossed in the book, I needed to keep going. I wanted to read it all and see how it goes. My heart was full. I shed a cheeky little tear. I laughed, I giggled, I was giddy. I loved this book. When I'm reading, I will go onto Spotify and look up the name of the book I'm reading and put on someone else's playlist that they have made for the book to kind of listen to the music that someone else has curated for the book. And trust me, it hits every time. This playlist for this book had a lot of Taylor Swift in it, so that was fantastic and it fit perfectly. And clearly Ali Hazelwood is a massive Taylor Swift fan, because in the acknowledgements, the last acknowledgement is Taylor Swift. You know what you did, Taylor. You can really feel that throughout the book. As I was getting towards the end of the book, I took some pictures with my phone of quotes I thought were cute, because I was not getting out of bed to run in and get my tabs, so I will get those quotes for you. After the first day, I conk out on the couch before dinner, before I can even call home. It's a dreamless, exhausted, happy kind of sleep. Vague impressions of bishops and rooks gliding softly across a large board. I wake up tucked in my bed, still wearing yesterday's clothes. Someone took off my shoes, connected my phone to the charger, put a glass of water on my bedside. Someone took care of me. I don't ask who. I wonder. And then this as well. Touch take rule, he murmurs. He stands too. Every step back I take is one step forward for him. What? You touched me. Can't stop now. Touch take rule. This is not chess. My back hits an obstacle. I can always stop. Then just don't. Just thought that was pretty cute. Those quotes just made me really smile as I was reading, and so I couldn't help but take a little picture. There is also a lot of chess, but I think you know what you sign up for when you pick up a chess romance. So I didn't think that was a downside at all. I really enjoyed all the chess. I thought it was fascinating. So basically read this. If you like chess, read it. If you don't like chess, read it. If you like romance, read it. If you like whimsy and happiness, read it. This is like silly happy book that warmed my heart. What I want to start doing is picking out one book from my physical TBR on camera to read for the next month. The book I pull out of here now is going to be one of the books I try to read in February. So yeah, let's give it a go. Let's see. Open this up. Okay, I have one firmly in my hand. Okay, let's see. Before the coffee gets cold. Okay, so Before the Coffee Gets Cold is on my February TBR. Look out for that. So that was my January. Thank you for watching my video. I'm really excited about what I'm working on currently. And what I'm hoping to do as well is I'm hoping to do a monthly wrap up like this every month so that I can fill you in, do my reviews once a month. So stay tuned for those. See you next time.